Understand that people that have the problem or people that want to avoid having the problem in the future, they'll buy the product based off of the utility of the product. They don't care how many followers you have. So I've made money not just off of the information, giving somebody the solution. And to this day, we still make money off of not just the information, telling somebody the solution, but creating products that allow that person to avoid problems, get out of problems, whatever they may need based off of that industry. Hey there, before we get into today's life-changing video, here's just a quick heads up before we dive in. Everything shared in this video is for educational and informative purposes only. I'm not a licensed financial advisor, CPA, attorney, or investment professional. The ideas, opinions, and examples shared are based on personal experience, public data, and general knowledge intended to help you learn and make more informed decisions. Nothing in this video should be taken as personal, financial, legal, or investment advice. Always do your own due diligence, aka research, and when in doubt, speak with a certified professional who understands your unique situation. Also, please know that results vary. Just because something worked for me or someone else doesn't guarantee the same outcome for you. Success takes effort, consistency, and your own decision making. From time to time, we may share tools, services, or offers, and some may include affiliate links or partnerships where we earn a commission at no extra cost to you. We only share resources we believe provide value. The goal is to empower you with knowledge, not pressure you into anything. You're in control. Thanks for watching and investing time in your own financial education. Let's grow smarter together. I love you, cousin JT. Let's get into it. Okay, family, let's do it ugly. What do I mean by that? I'm going to answer 10 more questions that you need to know before you're allowed to become a millionaire. Now, if you missed the first half of this, I kicked this off on the JT Automations YouTube channel, but I wanted to bring the second half over to the podcast. And what we're talking about is I went to AI, Big Al, right? And asked it to give me the top 20 hardest questions that prevent everyday, ordinary, blue collar country people like myself from becoming millionaires. By the grace of God, you guys know we have crossed over that milestone over 6 years ago and consistently making great money. But what do I know? What do I have? What do I do other than money, of course? Because, right, if you make enough money for a period of time, you would have money. But outside of that, or is it just that that separates those that can make seven figures from those that can't? I am a firm believer that anybody can cross this milestone if they're willing to learn the right things and consistently do them for a period of time. Now, how long that period of time is varies person to person because your learning curve may be different person to person. So let's get into these questions. What service, right? So now we're talking about monetization. Again, this is the second half of it. I'll make sure in the show notes somewhere, I'll link the first part. You can go watch that after this or listen to it for my audio listeners out there. What service do people always ask you for that you could turn into a high income hustle with the right branding, right? So I think that this answer is different person to person. So what I will say is if somebody out there is curious to know what's an in-demand skill that they can turn into a high-income hustle or a business with the right branding, is think about what problems you had 5 years ago, major problems, right? What was the biggest problem you can remember 5 years ago? You know what age you are now, right? Do the math, see what age you were 5 years ago. What was a major issue you had then? If there were no major issues, think about 10 years back. What age were you a decade ago? What unknowns existed? What problems did you have that you were just unsure about or dealing with that fast forward to now that is in your past, possibly even water under the bridge? There's somebody somewhere right now suffering from that same exact problem. And I want you all to understand that you can create that solution in the form of a podcast like this episode you're listening to. You could take that solution and write a book about it, which I'm very pro becoming an author on. You can make a course. That's if you're into the info space. You can also create a physical product that serves those people as well. So, my very first physical product that I created and sold online, you guys are going to laugh at me about this, but I made it with everything they sell in Walmart. So it was called the Locklear Spear. The reason why I called the Locklear Spear is because a gentleman by the name of Mr. Michael Locklear, he showed me how to make it. I was in a place called Lumberton, North Carolina at the time, and I said, hey man, you should sell these online. And he said, nah, I'm just gonna make them for the people around here. I said, well, do you mind if I sold them online? And he said, I don't care, man. Like, I'm not going to do it. If you can get anybody to buy it, then sure, you can make them and sell them online. So what in the world was a Locklear Spear? A Locklear Spear was an adjustable pole with the hook on the end of it, and it was designed for independent couriers. So many of you all know, but for the benefit of the people that may not know, I had a transportation business. That was my first major business that allowed me to leave, corporate America and transition over into entrepreneurship full time. That gave me enough money not just to pay my bills, but also to have disposable income to invest in real estate, e-commerce. Eventually, I stumbled across media, and the rest is history. So, just an adjustable pole. They sell these in Walmart, right? We would JB weld a thick hook to the end of it. And if you know anything about JB Weld, it ain't going nowhere. So we would JB Weld a really thick hook, and it was designed to hook inside of the lip of a crate. Because if you're a medical courier, you guys know there's a lot of crates. They're sealed, right? And you can hook inside that lip of the crate, drag that plastic crate to you, and then you can load it onto your hand cart, roll it to its destination. If you are a mail courier, since we did that as well, you know that there are little eyelids or little circle openings at the top of all of those mail bags, right? Usually there's a Velcro strap on it as well. A lot of people used to, spin the bag around or wrap that Velcro strap around it, run it through the eyelid, and that's part of how they secure it. Well, you can also hook this Locklear Spear into there as well. So the reason why this was so super important is because if you're constantly bending up and down, loading freight, unloading freight, especially around fourth quarter when there's a lot of freight being moved, over time, many people in this industry end up with hernias, lower back pains, all kind of issues as it relates to just the wear and tear on their body over long periods of time. So the Locklear Spear prevented that because now there was no need for you to be bending all day, every day, and contorting your body in weird ways just so that you can make sure you get the freight loaded and unloaded. So this device sounds really, really simple, right? An adjustable pole out of Walmart, a big hook on the end, JB Weld secures the hook to the top of the pole. We sold this device for probably 85 to 100 bucks, depending on the size of adjustable pole that they wanted. Because I always had extended cargo vans, so I wanted the longest pole possible. Some people was like, man, I also need to have a way that I can store it, and I want to have it either behind the seats or right there when you open up the side door of the cargo van or the back door of the cargo van, depending on how you load and want to unload your freight. So sometimes we had to offer a variety of sizes. Let's say all in with shipping and everything, I had 40 bucks tied into this product. At $85, I turned $45 profit. At $100, that's what, another 15 bucks on top of the 85. So now we're at 60 bucks profit. And we sold these consistently. Eventually, as you guys know, I transitioned out of the independent courier business. And what I was going to do if I was going to stay in that industry, I was going to get an official prototype made. So it would have been a custom adjustable pole, a built-in hook. It would have just looked nicer. It would have had the exact same utility and preferably be just as strong as what we had because these poles was indestructible. All right, I don't know what Walmart's selling now because it's been years since I tried to make these, but those poles was indestructible at the time. And keep in mind, the reason why I'm telling you this story is because lots of times people may understand, well, I had this problem 5 to 10 years ago. I can write a book about the solution, possibly sell the book, but I don't know if people will buy it. I can create social media content, but why should they listen to me? I can make a course about it. Why would they buy my course versus anybody else that's more attractive, richer, or whatever, right? So if you create the product for it, understand that people that have the problem or people that want to avoid having the problem in the future, they'll buy the product based off of the utility of the product. They don't care how many followers you have. So I've made money not just off of the information, giving somebody the solution. And to this day, we still make money off of not just the information, telling somebody the solution, but creating products that allow that person to avoid problems, get out of problems, whatever they may need based off of that industry, right? And also, if you want to provide a service, depending on the nature of your business, if it makes sense, then you could do that as well. So that's what I would do. Think about what problem you had 5 to 10 years ago that you've now overcame. I would create either the information, the product, or the service to help people that are living through that hell now, to help them get out of it sooner or avoid it completely. Question number 2 that I have for today: what certifications or licenses are worth getting to immediately raise your prices this year? I would say none. I would be more interested in you focusing on awards in your industry, and even more importantly than that, testimonials of men, women, or business owners, if you're a B2B entrepreneur like me, that you actually got somebody some results. You can say, I went to college, or I got this certification, or I got this license. Can you fix it? Can you give me what I'm paying you for? And as AI creeps up and becomes more known, more widely accepted, right? There is going to be a time where AI can do instantaneously what will take you 4, 6, 10 years to learn how to do. So I'm not knocking anybody out there that has certifications and licenses. I have those as well. I went to school 7 years after graduating high school. In that 7-year time frame, I earned my associate's degree, my bachelor's degree, and my master's degree. I also have received an honorary, right? So I didn't go to school for it, but I was recognized by an institution for it, an honorary doctorate degree. So I'm not anti-education, I'm not anti-knowledge, but if the goal is we want to increase our value, focus on the transformation, you get customers. Because I don't care what's on your wall, what's on your website, I'm paying you for the promise of whatever it is that you sell, I'm going to get that. All right, and you're going to hear me talk a lot about transformation. I don't believe in selling commodities. I believe that you should transform people's health, wealth, or relationships if you're a small business owner, because as a commodity, you're never going to be able to compete on price long term. It'll be a race to the bottom. And big organizations that have more money than you, have more leverage than you, they can go buy stuff in quantities of 1 million and force the price down because they're going to buy in such bulk. Whereas I don't care if it's $1, you probably can't buy 1 million units of something, even if it's 50 cents. Shoot, if it's 10 cents, right? If something is 10 cents, how many people can go buy 1 million units of it today? All right, I'm going to even use my handy dandy calculator, all right, and see what that would even be, because you guys know I got a South Carolina education. But if we take 0.10 for 10 cents, multiply that times 1 million, that's still 100 grand. So even if they drop it down to 10 cents a unit, you probably have 10 cents. That might be in between the cushions of your seat, underneath your driver's car seat, but they may not sell it to you at that price because you only want 1 of them. You only want 10 of them. You only want 100 of them. So they might charge you $5, $10, $20, depending on what it is that you're buying. Could be even more than that. Does that make sense? So I don't believe in you being a commodity, because you're actually creating a hard business for yourself. And why choose to make money any harder than it has to be? Question number 3, what's one simple add-on service or upsell that can double your income without doubling your work, right? I am really big in transformative tools. So figuring out what SaaS, which stands for software as a service, you can create using AI, whether it's make.com, Airtable, you name it, there's going to be a ton of different tools coming out. So I'm not even going to try to name all of the ones that are out today because there might be new ones out by the time you watch this video. But either through AI, because I don't know how to code, and we're working on several SaaS or software as a service assets right now, or go to flippa.com, Flippa, Flippa.com, right? You can go to flippa.com, make a free account, and that's not the only place, but that's, in my opinion, the most popular place as of this recording, and see what SaaS is available. And a viable upsell can be the software that helps them do the thing more efficiently, and let the software tool do all the heavy lifting, do all of the work, and you still can benefit from that in perpetuity. That's what we call a continuity offer. That's what we call a subscription offer. That's what we call a sell it once, get paid forever offer. And your business, to be honest, when you're talking to real business owners, isn't worth anything if you don't have any continuity, any recurring revenue guaranteed to come in. Question number 4, how do you know it's time to niche down day one? And what kind of niche services are winning right now? So a lot of people, they don't want to work like their grandmothers and mothers work. So it used to be noble, it used to be ideal for people to want to go get a good education, work on a job for 20, 30, 40 years, and then retire. Now there's a lot of people, especially the younger generation that's coming up, they don't want to lock in like that. So they want to find out what's viable ways to make money that doesn't require 20, 30, 40 years of me being subjected to having to be told when to show up, when to go eat, when to leave. If I want time off, I got to request it. They could tell me no. I even recently talked to somebody that's in their 50s, been working a job 20 something years. They're in the nursing field. They needed time off to handle personal emergencies. They were denied. So they were a senior person in that organization, and the excuse or the rationale or the logic, whatever term makes you feel more comfortable about it, they got was healthcare is a 24/7 job. So not saying that this person works 24/7. They have different people that work different shifts, but they were saying that you can't just up and take off whenever you need to because healthcare is a 24/7 job, necessity, service, right? So they could do alternatively, and they said that you can't always do this, is if you can find coverage, if you could find somebody that's already not working that block of time, and then you can have that person work for you, and maybe it's just a barter or a friendship or whatever it is, right? So tying that back to the kind of services that are winning right now is real practical ways you can make money working for yourself, whether it's through AI, whether it's through a service-based business, whether it's through streaming, whether it's through whatever means, right? People do not want to go be told what to do for 20, 30, 40 years. And then when your mom gets sick, when your kids get sick, when you need to take some personal time, be told no because we don't have the coverage and you need to show up to work, or you got to go beg another coworker that's already off, that may or may not have a great relationship with you, may not even know who you are if we're talking about in the hospital, right? I would assume not every nurse in the hospital knows every other nurse, right? But maybe, all right. But the whole point of the matter is, man, showing people how to win, right? How do you win financially? What's the difference between being the guy that does everything and being the go-to pro for one valuable skill? The go-to pro for one valuable skill gets paid a premium for being an expert. The guy that does everything makes a lot of little money. They get burnt out. They get frustrated because they say, well, I'm doing everything and such don't even do as much as me, but they get paid a premium. All right. I didn't know this until recently that an endodontist, and I'm probably pronouncing it wrong because I got a South Carolina education, An endodontist specializes in like root canal type work. So there are dentists that can do cleanings. Some dentists might also do root canals and different stuff as well. But an endodontist, for the most part, does, at least in my area, root canals and specialized dental work like that. The endodontist, because I had some nerve damage in my upper gum area, jaw area, blah 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 area. The endodontist charge over $3,000 to do a service, right? Over $3,000 for a single service, right? Now, if you've ever had extreme nerve damage or tooth pain or in any pain in any part of your body that is extreme enough, if you got the money, you paying it. You ain't splitting hairs about the cost. But compare that to, can the average dentist on any given day, right? Yes, they might put on braces or do some major work or have a lot of clients and it adds up to over $3,000. But an endodontist specializes in that and therefore they can charge a premium, right? So I want you to specialize in something. Don't try to go be the Swiss Army knife or everything to everybody, because nobody is going to trust you enough to pay you a premium. Because imagine this. What if I said, well, you know what? I'm a landscaper. I'm also a marketing agency owner. I'm also a dog trainer. I also teach swimming lessons, right? And you want your children to learn how to swim. And I say, well, I'm the best swimming instructor in the world. So you should pay me because I charge $5,000, right? $5,000. I will teach your children how to be Olympic level swimmers. Whether you have the money or not, if you know me from landscaping, if you heard I might have a marketing agency, but you ain't never seen it because that just doesn't fit any of your needs right now, right? If you was like, hey man, we even saw old buddy got a part-time job at Burger King. He was working the drive-thru when I came through. And now I'm telling you, I'm the best swim instructor in the world. You should pay me $5,000 because the transformation I'm going to give your children is going to make it so they're going to be able to not only survive in water, but get paid for their expertise by being competitive, excellent swimmers. Nobody is going to believe that somebody that does all of that is the best in the world. And even if you had the money, you ain't giving it to me for that. If you wanted your children to be the best in the world, Olympic caliber swimmers, so that way they can go win gold medals one day, right? You're going to go find, hopefully, somebody that was a professional swimmer that specializes in swim instructions and swimming and safety and all of that good stuff. And you're going to pay that person. And that might be all they do. So you want to be that. Question number 6. What's one thing I did online that brought in more customers than passing out 500 flyers? I taught and still do teach everything that I know about business for absolutely free. The only thing that I sell is speed, right? And peace of mind. What do you mean by that? I can tell you from start to finish, whatever, right? Whatever business I'm privy to know of or have experience in. But there is still a group of people that are so used to having a boss, so used to having somebody approve or look at their work to make sure it's good, right? That they don't trust themselves. There's also some people out there that will move so slow because they don't know how to manage their own time wisely that they would never get it done, right? Not in this lifetime. Like the old people used to say, not on this side of heaven, baby. So that being said, while a lot of people think they got to gatekeep their information, their value, right? Now, here's a important nugget, golden nugget that most people don't emphasize. You only work for free for people that have the money and have the problem and know they want it solved in your industry. If I'm somebody that markets for big businesses, I don't go to small struggling businesses and market for them for absolutely free. I will go to the biggest companies in the world that have big 9-figure budgets. They're not going to give me the entire 9, but they might give me 4 or 5 figures out of it, maybe even 6, depending on how great I am for them, right? But they have the ability to pay me. So if I deliver for them on a small scale or on a limited scale one time, if they want more of that, they don't have to overthink where the money gonna come from. Is that too much money? How we gonna get the money to pay it, right? Whereas small businesses might say, hey man, you helped me out a lot. I had a $15,000 month and I usually only make $2,000 a month. That allowed me to get out of some debt. I can now save up some money. I could go on a vacation that I'm overdue for. At no point did they say, I can now put you on retainer and continue to pay you so I can have more $15,000 months, right? And that's the logic of most people. So the nugget there is go serve businesses that have the problem, already know they need a solution, already have the money to pay you without negotiating, without reducing your price, right? Don't give them a discount so they can go pay full price to somebody else, all right? Those are the kind of people that you do it free for, all right? That's a gem. Question number 7, how do you get found online without a fancy website, social media, and what platforms work best for blue-collar workers? YouTube, Instagram for short form content. On Instagram, you get paid based off of the viewers, right? So the people that view your content are also the people that you got to convince to pull out their wallet and buy from you. On YouTube, businesses will see that, hey, you just make valuable content that garners an audience. We'll pay you to get in front of that audience and we'll take the risk of selling to that particular audience. So it depends on you, right? So I would say, we're depending on where you are in business, you make that decision for yourself. All right, but social media is definitely where it's at. YouTube is my bias. All right. When it comes to ownership, which is why I do a podcast separate from YouTube and Instagram, podcasts are where it's at because I think podcasts are the only social media that you own. I do think that podcasts then still has some more room to grow. Not saying that it's small, but I do think that there's still a ways for podcasting to go in terms of servicing creators and monetization. And I think that that's not worth the squeeze of you trying to figure it out in the beginning, with the exception of if you're going to do a podcast and upload it to YouTube, like this one will be, and you're able to also cut it up in sections and put parts of that on your Instagram as well. So now you can leverage those established platforms while you still build up your own independent monetization channels on your own podcast, which is what I'm doing as well, right? Question number 8, what does it mean to stop selling time and start selling results? And why does that change the game forever? All right. So time is somebody's most valuable resource, but time is not money. Time is infinitely more valuable than money. So you can spend a lot of time being busy, but not productive. And if people think that you're charging based off of your time, their reference point of how much time costs will limit your ability to charge. So, for example, let's say that they make $20 an hour and they did a little research, and according to Google, YouTube, or whatever, the powers that be say that you should charge maybe $50 an hour, but this should be an hour and a half job. So this should cost them $75. And that's what they're prepared for, right? If you come and say you want to charge $500, they're going to say, oh, that's too much. It's only an hour and a half job, right? You charge $50 an hour. You're trying to take advantage of me. This is a $75 job you charging me $500 for. So instead of focusing on how long it takes to get the result, you focus on what value this result is to that person. Now, this is hard to do with a commodity, which is why we don't sell commodities, right? But we sell transformations in the health, wealth, and relationship space, right? So that being said, I would focus on saying, okay, if you did have a book, you guys know I got my Books the Bucks program. If you enrolled in the Books the Bucks program, as of this time, and prices always go up, so it depends on when you're listening to this, all right? If you spend $5,000 to join the Books the Bucks program, I'm going to walk you through the process of creating a book, building a book business, and marketing that book and scaling it up, right? The goal is to scale it up so it pays all of your bills every single month. Now, can it do much more than that? Absolutely. It's doing much more than that for me now. However, right? I'm not going to limit the upside, so I'm going to set the floor, and because people want to know what they're going to get out of it, as this program will allow you, if you work it consistently based off of the framework that I provide, this is going to set you up with the ability to not have to pay your bills with your earned income from your 9 to 5, from your investments, from your side hustle. It don't got to come from anywhere else but here, right? If you so choose. Now, that allows you to stack money to invest, travel, pay off debt, whatever it is, right? So I don't really care what you want to do with all of this new money that you can now stack up. I just want to replace where the money comes from that pays your bills. Now, what value is that to you? If you make $1,000 a month and you spend $5,000 and you think about it in terms of time, you say this is 5 months of my life I may never get back. But if I focus on selling results, right? So let's say that I am right? Because if we're going to look at the worst case scenario, let's also look at the best. Worst case scenario, you lost 5 months of your life that you can never get back. You got to work 5 more months to get the money back. If I am right, best case scenario, right, you now can essentially save $12,000 a year. That might can pay off debt, go on a nice trip, invest in something, start a business, blah, 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 blah. What if I'm half right? Well, if you make $1,000 a month, I would imagine that your bills aren't more than what you make. So if I'm half right, and now you got $500 a month coming in from the program, you can now save half of what you would normally spend in bills, right? Now, this is a terrible example because you got to be living at your means. So that means you spending the whole 1,000 just to live. Input your numbers because I know your numbers are different. Don't get hung up on the numbers. Understand the logic, right? Let's say you made 1,000 and you spent the whole 1,000 every month. If I'm completely right, best case scenario for this example, $12,000 a year you can stack, save, invest, or pay off debt. If I'm half right, you got 6,000, right? Instead of the 1,000 that you need, you got 500, right? What if I'm 10% right? Now, of course, I wouldn't be in business this long if I was only delivering 10% of what people pay for. But instead of you making 1,000 a month, once this is built out and done the right way consistently, you make $100 a month, right? So at the end of the year, that's $1,200. All right, that now means that you have 1 month free every single year. Now, understand this about business. There's no rule in business that just because you're at this level today, you can't improve. So over time, you get better. And now instead of 1 month, you got 2 months. And then you see how this can quickly snowball to the point where you right back where you started or where you wanted to be, which is the best case scenario. You could pay all of your bills, maybe even then some, right? Without having to touch your earned income. All right. So do you see how that, in that token, in that logic, $5,000 is a no-brainer, right? Worst case scenario, you're going to have 1 free month a year where you could take all of that money, save, invest, pay off debt, do whatever, stack it up, right? But you know it's going to be better than 10% because you could do your due diligence on that person. There'll be reviews, there'll be videos. Now, if somebody has a great experience, and you guys can attest to this, people that have a great experience and won't say nothing. You'll order that thing off of Amazon, is exactly what you wanted. You still won't go back to Amazon and give them 5 stars. But if you order something from Amazon and you don't get it at all, or it's nothing like what you received, oh, you gonna let it be known. So people definitely make some noise when it's bad. So even if you can't find a lot of good on it, what you for sure gonna find is if this is a scam, if this is bad, oh, some noise is gonna be made about it, right? So you're gonna do your due diligence on it. And if it's 10%, you're not gonna invest in it. If it's 50% bad, you're not gonna invest in it, right? Because it's gonna be overwhelming negative information about that product. I paid for this, I got half of it. That's terrible. Right? So you're either going to find good reviews or, depending on the people, right? Because I know you're guilty of it as well, as am I. You're either going to find nothing about it, but this company's been around or this business owner's been around so long that if something was bad, they would have said it by now. And or you're going to find the bad if it's bad. So you're going to find good reviews or no reviews. Or if it's bad, 100% you're going to find the bad stuff. All right? Because people don't mind telling you when somebody messed up. All right, you tracking? So what's the number one automation or repeatable system that made me money while I was sleeping or working on something else? Hiring other people. You can always afford to hire a team. In my mentorship, people come in, I ain't got the money. I wish I could do this. I wish I could do that, right? And without going in super depth about it, because that could be a whole nother podcast episode. If you're working a 9-to-5 job now, how did you know when you took the job if they had the money to pay you on payday or not? Some people never even thought about it. They just said, hey, this is a big trucking company. This is a big restaurant chain. This is a big manufacturing company. This is a big this, big that. Or I'm working for my friend, my partner, my family, right? So you don't even know if they got your money or not until payday. And you guys let me know, because it's been a little minute. I ain't had a job since like 2014. Do you still got to put a check in the hole? Hopefully not. But if it's still like that, if you get paid every 2 weeks, you got to go a month. So I got a whole month before you even know if I got half of the money I owe you, because the other half only come after you quit, right? Even if you don't got to put a check in the hole, I got 2 weeks. I could just work you over those 2 weeks to make enough money to pay you and me, as long as I got the right system, and you don't even know that I was broke when I hired you. Why? Because you work for free until payday, right? So anybody can hire anybody with the right system, because the right system, that person will generate enough money to pay for you and them, all right? Because you're going to hire people the right way. You're not going to just hire bums that's going to do nothing and say, well, I at least showed up. Let me get 1 day of pay, right? We're going to structure a hiring process that's going to weed out all of the bums. So the only people you hire are top performers. And I'm going to say this, then we're going to move on. You got to tap in. You want all the sauce. You going to make enough money before they start working off of the interview process to pay for them. Hey, tap in with JT if you want to know how. But let me go to the next question. But hiring people is the answer to the number one automation or repeatable system that made me money while I was sleeping or working on something else. Question number 10, final question of this series. How do you go from being a worker to a wealth builder in your trade or side hustle? What's the real path? So first, you got to live below your means while you're still working for somebody else, because you need to have that cushion to be able to build your business. So you don't want to be making fast or irrational decisions and just doing stuff, making mistakes because you need money to pay the bills. So what does living below your means mean? You need to cut your living expenses, or whatever you take home, you need to start living off of half of that or less. Whatever you got to do, get rid of it, earn more money, side hustle, DoorDash, Uber, sell some stuff that you own, shoes, clothes, the TV, I don't care. Get to a point where you can keep at least half of your take-home income. What you're going to do with that other half is you're going to start investing in learning the right thing to do. There's 2 paths. You can start paying mentors as that money stack up, depending on what your mentor charge, to learn the right way. Or you could just invest in a franchise and learn as you earn into whatever franchise makes sense for you. But you got to first start living below your means, establish that safety cushion. Then before you just start randomly doing stuff you heard on Instagram, YouTube, or in a podcast episode, get training from people that have done it and are currently doing it, right? And then from there, you transition over to a point where now you can say, you know what? Hey, you guys, I'm now confident in my abilities. I had the right information. I applied the right information. I have micro wins that show that this is a validated pathway to success independent of a job. Then you start transitioning slowly over to a point where you can fully work for yourself. If you guys want to tap in with me, my number is right here, but I'll read it to you as well because some people are just listening to it. 1-833-221-9994. 1-833-221-9994. Man, text me, right? Don't call. I tell people all the time, 9 times out of 10, I'm either recording content for one of my social media accounts or this podcast, if I'm with my family, or, you know, just in a business meeting. My phone is on Do Not Disturb probably close to 100% of the time. All right, my 7-year-old daughter knows to text me, don't call me, and then I'll call her back. Now, of course, I got her set up in the phone where if she calls, she'll come through even though it's on Do Not Disturb just for emergency purposes. But if it's not life or death, right, my family know to text me. All right, and then my close family members, their call will come through. But, man, text me, man. If I'm grinding, I don't want to be interrupted, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. If I'm with my family, I want to give them my undivided attention. If I'm with a client, whether it's a mentee, a business partner, or whatever, right, I want to give them my undivided attention as well. So, man, my phone live on Do Not Disturb. All right, so if you call, you probably not going to get an answer. Just text me. All right, just being real. That's the best way to reach me on any given day of the week. All right, so hope you guys got value out of today's episode, man. You've been tuning into the Income Autopilot Podcast, the show that teaches you how to stop working for money and live your life while money works for you. I'm your host, JT. Some call me JT Hustle. Some call me JT Automations. You could call me Cousin JT because as a family, we're going to build wealth and get you to a point where your money, your assets, your intellectual property, which is your ideas, is going to start paying all of your bills, right? Let me say that again. I want your intellectual property, your IP, right? Your ideas can pay all of your bills. All right, tune into the next episode, man. Love y'all. God love y'all. Peace.